Imagine waking up one morning and reaching for something ordinary, a grocery bag, a grandchild, a door handle, and feeling something unfamiliar in your grip. Not pain exactly, just a subtle absence of the effortless strength that used to live there without you ever having to think about it. You pause for a fraction of a second. Then life moves forward and you forget about it entirely. But your body does not forget. Your body has been keeping a record that your conscious mind never agreed to review. This is the silent shift that nobody warns women about with the seriousness it deserves. Not in annual checkups, not in the conversations that happen across kitchen tables or in the waiting rooms of clinics. There is an entire biological transformation unfolding inside. A woman's body across her 40s and into her 50s that gets spoken about in whispers. If it gets spoken about at all, and the silence around it has real consequences that settle into real lives over time, what is happening is not mysterious once you understand it. The human body after 30 begins a gradual renegotiation with its own tissue. Muscle fibers that were once recruited easily begin to thin. Hormones that were quietly maintaining dozens of structural and metabolic processes begin their slow recession. Bones that felt permanent begin responding to a new and less forgiving internal chemistry. And the woman living inside all of this change is often told that what she is experiencing is simply aging, as though aging were a destination rather than a dynamic, biological process that responds, constantly and profoundly, to the signals we choose to send it. There is a particular kind of loss that happens so gradually that the human mind almost never registers it as loss at all. You do not wake up one morning and find your strength suddenly gone. Instead, it leaves in increments so small they fall beneath the threshold of daily awareness. A little less ease when climbing stairs, a little more fatigue after carrying things that once felt weightless, a recovery that takes just a breath longer than it used to, and somewhere inside that accumulation of small, unremarkable moments, something significant has been quietly changing at the level of fiber and cell and metabolic function. Skeletal muscle is one of the most metabolically expensive tissues the human body maintains. It demands energy simply to exist. Even at rest, muscle tissue is consuming calories, regulating glucose, participating in the body's ongoing effort to maintain chemical balance. When a woman begins losing that tissue, and after 50, the rate of that loss can accelerate meaningfully, particularly in the absence of the estrogen that once helped preserve it. She is not simply losing physical strength in the conventional sense. She is losing a metabolic infrastructure that was protecting her in ways she may never have been told about. Insulin sensitivity, for instance, depends significantly on the presence of healthy muscle mass. Muscle is one of the primary sites where the body deposits glucose after a meal. When that tissue diminishes, blood sugar regulation becomes more effortful for the body's systems, and the slow drift toward metabolic dysfunction becomes more probable over time. The cardiovascular system, the immune system, even the architecture of mood and cognitive clarity, all of these carry some relationship to the presence and vitality of lean muscle tissue in the body. Beyond the metabolic, there is something worth sitting with on a more human level. Muscle is what allows a woman to move through the world with agency, to lift, to carry, to climb, to balance, to catch herself before a fall becomes a fracture. When that capacity erodes without intervention, it does not just affect physical performance. It begins to quietly reshape the boundaries of what feels possible, what feels safe, what feels within reach in the lived experience of daily. There is a moment in every woman's life where information stops being abstract and becomes personal, where the science stops living in a journal or a clinic and starts living in the body she wakes up in every morning. This is one of those moments, because what the research has been pointing toward for decades, quietly, consistently, with a kind of accumulated certainty that deserves far more attention than it has received in mainstream conversations about women's health, is that resistance training is not optional for women over 50. It is biological necessity dressed in the language of choice. Resistance training, at its most essential, is the practice of asking your muscles to work against a force greater than what they encounter in ordinary daily movement. That force can come from a barbell, from a resistance band, from the weight of your own body moving through a squat or a lunge or a push. The specific tool matters far less than the principle underneath it, which is that muscle tissue, when challenged beyond its comfortable threshold, responds by initiating a cascade of repair and adaptation that leaves it more capable than it was before the challenge was introduced. This is not metaphor, this is measurable. observable, reproducible, cellular biology happening inside the body. Every time a woman chooses to engage in this kind of deliberate physical effort, what happens at the muscular level in the hours following a resistance training session is worth understanding with some depth. The mechanical stress placed on muscle fibers creates microscopic disruption within those fibers, not damage in the harmful sense, but a controlled, productive kind of cellular disturbance that the body is exquisitely designed to respond to. Satellite cells, which are specialized stem cells residing at the periphery of muscle fibers, activate in response to that disturbance and begin migrating towards the affected tissue. Protein synthesis increases. The body draws on available amino acids to rebuild the disrupted fibers thicker and more resilient than they were before. Given adequate nutrition, particularly sufficient dietary protein, and adequate rest, the muscle emerges from that process slightly more capable, slightly more dense, slightly better equipped for the next demand placed upon it. This process, repeated consistently over weeks and months, produces changes that are not subtle. Women who commit to regular resistance training experience measurable increases in muscle mass and functional strength. They experience improvements in resting metabolic rate because they are carrying more metabolically active tissue. They experience better glucose regulation because their muscles are more efficient at absorbing blood sugar. They experience improved balance and coordination because the neuromuscular pathways, the communication lines between the brain and the muscle, become more refined and responsive with repeated use. And perhaps most significantly for the long arc of a woman's health, they experience a meaningful slowing of the bone density loss that accelerates after menopause, because the mechanical load that resistance training places on bone stimulates the osteoblast, activity responsible for maintaining and rebuilding bone mineral density. What moves me about this particular exercise, beyond all of its measurable physiological benefits, is what it represents philosophically for a woman navigating the second half of her life. The culture surrounding women's bodies has historically emphasized reductions, smaller, lighter, less. Resistance training inverts that entirely. It asks a woman to become more capable, to build rather than diminish, to trust that her body growing stronger is not vanity or excess, but an act of profound self-preservation. There is something quietly revolutionary about a woman in her 50s, standing in front of a weight and deciding that her body is still worth investing in, still worth challenging, still worth a belief that it can respond and adapt and grow, because it can. The research on this point is not ambiguous. The human muscular and skeletal system retains what exercise physiologists call training adaptability well into the 7th, 8th, and even 9th decades of life. The body does not stop listening simply because the calendar has moved forward. It continues to respond to the signals it receives, and resistance training is one of the clearest, most direct signals a woman can send her own biology that she is not retreating, not surrendering to the drift of tissue loss and metabolic slowdown, but actively participating in the maintenance of a body she intends to live fully inside for decades. The practical threshold for beginning is far lower than most women imagine. Research consistently demonstrates that even 2 sessions per week of moderate resistance training produce significant physiological benefit. The movements do not need to be complex or performed in a gym filled with intimidating equipment. Bodyweight squats, hip hinges, pushing and pulling movements, exercises that challenge the muscles of the legs and back and core. These foundational patterns, performed with consistency and progressive intention, are enough to initiate the biological response that changes the trajectory of a woman's health in the years ahead. The body does not require perfection. It requires the honest, repeated signal that effort is being made and that the tissue is being asked to remain. There is a conversation happening inside the human body that most of us never learn to listen to, a constant, intricate exchange between muscle and brain, between movement and mood, between the physical effort a woman makes on any given morning and the neurological and hormonal landscape she inhabits for the rest of that day. Resistance training enters that conversation in ways that extend so far beyond the muscular that to describe it purely as a physical practice would be to miss most of what it is actually doing. When a woman engages in resistance training, the brain responds with a release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that functions almost like a biological fertilizer for neural tissue. It supports the survival of existing neurons, encourages the formation of new neural connections, and has been associated in research with a reduced risk of cognitive decline over time. The very act of gripping, stabilizing, moving with load and intention, sends signals through the nervous system that keep the brain's architecture active, responsive, and structurally resilient in ways that sedentary living simply cannot replicate. Women who train with resistance regularly often describe a mental clarity and emotional steadiness that feels qualitatively different from their experience before they began, and the neuroscience underneath that experience is real and measurable. The hormonal dimension adds another layer of remarkable complexity. Resistance training stimulates the release of growth hormone and insulin-like growth factor, both of which contribute to tissue repair, metabolic regulation, and the maintenance of lean body mass. It improves the sensitivity of cellular receptors to the hormones already present in the body, meaning the endocrine system functions with greater efficiency and less metabolic noise. For women navigating the hormonal shifts of perimenopause and menopause, this recalibration carries consequences that touch sleep quality, emotional regulation, energy availability, and the overall felt sense of inhabiting a body that is working with, rather than quietly against. There is something that happens to a woman when she stops relating to her body as a problem to be solved, and begins relating to it as a system to be understood. The shift is not dramatic. It does not arrive with fanfare. It tends to come quietly, often in the middle of an ordinary moment, perhaps after completing a set of movements she could not have managed 3 months ago, or noticing that she carried something heavy without thinking twice about it, or simply waking up and feeling, in some wordless way, more at home in her own physical presence than she has in years. That shift is not incidental to the practice of resistance training. It is one of its most profound and least discussed outcomes. For decades, many women have carried a complicated and often painful relationship with their bodies, shaped by cultural messaging that equated worth with appearance, strength with masculinity, and aging with a kind of biological betrayal that was meant to be managed quietly and without complaint. Resistance training does not just challenge the muscles, it challenges that narrative at its foundation. It asks a woman to redefine what her body is for, not as an object to be observed, but as an instrument to be developed, not as something that is diminishing, but as something that is, with the right invitation, still actively becoming. The compassion embedded in this practice matters as much as the science, beginning where you are, with what you have, without apology for the starting point. This is not a minor psychological detail. It is the entire condition under which genuine physical transformation becomes possible. A body approached with patience and honest curiosity responds differently than a body approached with frustration or judgment. The biology of stress and the biology of safety are not the same, and the woman who learns to bring kindness to her own rebuilding creates an internal environment where that rebuilding can actually